The machines around my son beeped in rhythms that didn't match his breathing. He was 12. 12 years old, with his spine fractured in 3 places, tubes snaking out of his nose and arms, legs that didn't move when the doctors poked them. The accident crushed everything below his ribs. 1 second, he had been riding his bike home from baseball practice. The next, he was airborne, bones folding under the weight of a 2-ton Ford F-250 going 40 in a school zone. The man who hit him blew a 13 on the breathalyzer. He was 29, name of Blake Mercer, local bar manager, 2 priors, drove home drunk because it was his birthday and he felt fine. The DA said it was open and shut. But the dash cam from the responding officer glitched, and the arresting officer didn't read the Miranda rights in full. So Blake Mercer walked free. He didn't even pay the hospital bills. The courtroom was packed when the verdict came. I sat beside my wife, my hands clenched so hard the skin tore open in my palms. The judge called it a miscarriage of process. Technicality. Motion to dismiss granted. Blake smiled as he left. Not a big grin, just a smirk. A twitch at the corner of his mouth, like someone who just got away with cheating at cards. That tiny, smug flicker of his lips burned itself into my memory more than the sound of my son's body hitting the pavement. I followed him out of the courthouse that day. He didn't notice. Nobody ever does. For weeks, I watched him. Blake had a routine, like most careless men do. He thought he was invincible, thought the court proved it. He bartended at a dive on Millen Street called the Rusted Barrel, slept late, drove a new truck, same model that hit my son, dated a girl 10 years younger who wore his clothes like armor and smiled too wide for someone living in his shadow. He worked 4 nights a week, Thursdays through Sundays. The other days he spent at the gym, the bar, or on his porch smoking weed like the world owed him peace. I didn't want to kill him. I wanted to strip him bare. Pain comes in layers. I would teach him each one. I started small. Let the air out of his tires every few nights. Subtle enough to feel like coincidence. Then I stole one of his shoes from the gym locker room. Just one, the left. Replaced it with a size too small. Next, I ordered a dozen pizzas to his house at 3 a.m. every night for a week. Then silence. Then again, 2 weeks later. His girlfriend thought someone was stalking them. He laughed it off. So I escalated. I stole his dog. It was a skinny mutt, always tied to a chain in the yard, ribs showing. I fed it, bathed it, renamed it Henry, took it to the vet. Then I posted flyers in his neighborhood, lost dog found, with a photo of Henry and a number that went to a disconnected line. Everywhere Blake turned, I was already there. At work, I swapped his bar key with a duplicate that never opened the register. He got written up. At the gym, I switched out his protein powder with a laxative blend. He spent 30 minutes locked in a bathroom and missed a date. Then I sent a letter. Handwritten, block letters, no return address. Your smile in court was the last one you'll ever enjoy. He took it to the cops. They called it harassment. No fingerprints, no suspects, no charges. He started sleeping with a light on. Goodman wasn't done. One rainy morning, I followed him into the liquor store. He never looked back. I stood behind him in line. He reeked of tequila and arrogance. He asked the cashier if she had anything stronger than what he bought last time. I said nothing, but I watched. A week later, I mailed his girlfriend a copy of the police report from the night of the crash. He lighted the part about the child on the bike. She left 2 days later. He punched a hole in his bathroom mirror. Then I sent another letter. You broke something precious. Now I'll break you in pieces. Next came the job. I printed photos of Blake handing alcohol to minors, staged but believable. Sent them to the liquor board with an anonymous tip. It took 2 weeks, but they investigated. Found expired licenses, poor sanitation, illegal hires. The Rusted Barrel shut down. Blake tried applying elsewhere. I was already ahead of him. Every potential employer received a background file I compiled. His priors, the accident, the court transcript, A cropped still of his smirk. No one called him back. He sold his truck, bought a bike, started drinking at home alone, and I kept going. Every Tuesday I mailed a single Polaroid to his house, just one, photos of my son, in bed, in rehab, in a wheelchair, no threats, no messages, just a reminder of what he took. A night I called him, blocked number. He answered, voice hoarse. Hello? I said nothing. Let him hear the breathing. Let him feel hunted. He called the cops again. This time they told him to change his number. He did. I got the new one in 3 days and called again. His hands started shaking. His eyes darted at every shadow. He stopped going outside after dark. Then I broke into his apartment, not to hurt him, not yet, just to move things. I flipped every book on his shelf upside down, reversed the couch cushions, hid one sock from each pair, took the batteries out of his remote. Then I left a single photograph on his pillow, my son, post-surgery, stitched like a rag doll, no note. The next morning, Blake went to the hospital, not for help. For pills. He said he couldn't sleep, said he had anxiety, said he was hearing things. They gave him something mild. Didn't work, so he upped the dosage himself. I made sure he couldn't refill it. Followed him into the pharmacy, used a stolen card to buy every bottle ahead of him, then watched him beg at the counter while I stood behind a magazine rack. He looked smaller now, like something shrinking in the rain. But I wasn't finished. Pain is patient, and I had years of it left to give. Blake Mercer stopped jogging in the mornings. He stopped answering calls from friends. His blind stayed closed even at noon, and his trash overflowed with empty bottles and frozen dinners. The last photo I mailed him had an image of my son in his first swimming therapy session, pale and stiff in the shallow pool, guided by straps in strangers' hands. My boy was learning how to breathe again while half submerged, one labored movement at a time. Blake didn't open his door for 2 days after that one. I watched from a car parked half a block away. By now he'd begun checking windows before stepping outside, even for groceries. He wore sunglasses at night, as if I wouldn't recognize him. He left his apartment in frantic, jerking moves, never staying in one place long. He was unraveling, but pain isn't just isolation. Pain is knowing no one believes you. So I started giving him glimpses. A face in the window behind him, a figure in the reflection of a store glass, always gone by the time he turned. A man in a crowd wearing the same shoes he wore the day he smiled in court. He got a restraining order, against no one. Filed it with trembling hands, the clerk later told someone I knew at the courthouse. It didn't matter. A month later, I changed tactics. It was time for him to feel the weight of betrayal. I forged an invitation to a job fair, sent it through a fake recruiter email I'd created just for him. It came with instructions, directions, a time. He shaved. Bought new clothes. Printed a resume I knew by heart. When he arrived at the hotel, the conference room was empty. Lights off, doors locked. Except one. He opened it and found only a chair. And another photograph. This one showed his truck parked at the curb 3 minutes before the crash. My son, mid-pedal, riding toward a future he'd never walk through. No note. Blake. Screamed. A janitor called security. He was escorted out barefoot and crying. I knew because I was there. Watching, he didn't try to find a job after that. He started carrying a knife. I let him. It didn't help. Next, I hacked his accounts, all of them. Facebook, email, the dating apps he used when he still felt like a man. I posted old photos from his college days, tagged people he hadn't spoken to in years. A picture of him drunk, passed out at a party, with a crude drawing on his chest. Then I posted one more. My son in a hospital gown, smiling weakly. Takels, this is who you hit. No hashtags, no insults, just a face and a wound. His online life crumbled. Comments flooded in. Old friends blocked him. One of his cousins posted a comment that just said, I hope you rot good. But still not enough. Pain isn't just public shame, it's loss. So I made him lose more. I found his landlord, a man named Marvin who didn't care about tenants, just checks. I posed as an inspector and told him Blake had been storing chemicals, that the police were watching him, that it was bad for property value. Marvin gave Blake 30 days. Blake called friends. No one picked up. So he sold his furniture, moved into a motel off Route 11. Room 4B, mold around the air vents, a smell like old sweat and sour milk. He kept the lights on all night. He sat with his back to the wall. I knew because I watched. Ow, came the final pieces. The slow rot of the body. I slipped flyers under his door. Anonymous pamphlets about nerve damage and phantom pain. Tips for the paralyzed. Articles on PTSD and survivor's guilt. Then I mailed him a DVD. No return address. It played one video. A boy in a wheelchair, breathing hard, lifting a 2-pound weight over his head. My son? He lasted 12 seconds before collapsing. No sound. Just a date in the corner. Blake unplugged his television after that. I left it on again the next day. He broke it with a chair. Now he talks to himself. Not just whispers, but full conversations with people who aren't there. His clothes hang off him. He doesn't shave. The front desk staff says he mutters about shadows and judgment. They think they're right. But I'm not done. He wakes up screaming now. Every night. They moved him to room 8C, farther from the others. It didn't matter. The nightmares follow him. I made sure of it. I planted a device in his room. Small. Silent. Emits a noise just low enough to be heard in sleep. A thrum that slips into the dream layer. Disrupts rest. Mimics the hum of hospital equipment. Every time he dreams, it becomes the crash. He can't medicate it. Can't drink it away. His therapist says he's hallucinating. Says he should check into a facility. He refuses. He knows this isn't mental illness. It's punishment. He just doesn't know how deep I'll go. Because I haven't broken him yet. But I will. I will make him feel what it's like to live with pain that has no expiration. Pain that lingers. Bat stains. That rots from within. He tried to leave town once. He took a bus out toward the coast, backpack stuffed with what little he hadn't sold. Thought if he changed scenery, changed air, he might outpace the grief that had grown teeth. But I was there before him. The ticket agent had my number. So did the motel manager. I paid well. He boarded the bus. 3 hours later, it broke down on a dead stretch of highway. The driver called for help. The passengers waited under a sun that burned red by noon. Blake stood off by himself, fidgeting, sweating, checking every passing car. Then he saw mine. It cruised slow past the shoulder, windows tinted, my son's photo taped to the inside of the glass. His knees gave out. The next day, he was back at the motel. They moved him to room 9A. It smelled of bleach and grief. Now he shaved with a plastic razor and looked in the mirror like the glass would bite him. The twitch had spread from his hands to his face, a constant flick at the corner of his mouth, where that smirk once lived. Let it rot. I wanted to dismantle what was left. So I turned to the past. People forget the digital footprint they leave behind. I didn't. I found Blake's mother, a frail woman in a nursing home 3 states away, under someone else's name on the door. I visited once, said I was a friend of her son's, gave her a framed photo of Blake when he was 6, holding a trophy in both hands, cheeks red with joy. She cried, said he hadn't visited in years. The next week I mailed her a new photo, a screenshot of the news article. Drunk driver walks free in child's paralysis case. I didn't say I was her son's ghost, but I might as well have been. 3 days later, she called him. They spoke for 6 minutes. She hung up crying. He threw the motel phone across the room. Broke his hand in 3 places. Still not enough. Bought a burner phone and sent him voicemails. Never a voice, just hospital sounds. The hiss of oxygen, the beep of a monitor flatlining. Then silence. Then a faint whisper of my son saying, "Dad?" Blake smashed the phone with a brick behind the dumpster. But I had more. At the liquor store, I paid the clerk to rearrange the shelves, put juice boxes in the freezer, lined the counter with candy bars and children's wrappers. Subtle but cruel. Every aisle reminded him of a life he ruined. He started buying only mouthwash, not to clean his teeth, to drown his nerves. At the church on 5th, he tried to sit through a Sunday service. First time in 10 years. The sermon was about sin. I paid the preacher in advance. Made sure he looked Blake in the eyes when he said, "There is justice beyond this world." Blake left halfway through. He vomited on the sidewalk. That night, I carved 3 words into his motel door. "I'm still here." No fingerprints, no witnesses, just paint dripping like blood. The clerk called it vandalism. Blake called it a warning. But no one listened to the boy who cried guilt. I watched from the lot across the street, saw the way he curled into the bed, clutching his knees like a child, saw how he slept in clothes now, too afraid to be caught vulnerable. But I wasn't after his body. Not yet. It was after what was left of his soul, to hit the last thing he had. His father, a pastor in a sleepy town in Nebraska, a man who hadn't spoken to Blake in years, not since the bar fight that cost them their name in the community. I sent the father a video, not of the crash, of Blake, pacing in the motel, drunk, shirtless, sobbing, screaming my son's name like a curse. I knew the pastor would call. I knew Blake wouldn't answer. He threw the phone away after that, cut his hair with kitchen scissors, started talking to shadows. He begged the motel to let him stay without paying. They refused. I paid them to refuse. He lived in his truck for 4 nights. Then that was gone too, towed and auctioned. He slept under the bridge near Fieldstone Avenue, shivering, begging strangers for $1 he never spent. I dropped a single envelope near his feet. Inside was a photo of my son standing for the first time with braces. 1 step, then 2, and Blake, curled up like something less than human, wept until morning. People passed him by. No one looked twice. Just another broken man babbling to the ghosts only he could see. He didn't know I was behind the trees, watching, waiting. Because I wasn't done yet. The final pain had to be more than fear, more than shame. It had to be truth. Truth that would haunt him even when I was gone. The last time I saw Blake Mercer, he was sitting alone on a park bench, staring into a dry fountain. He hadn't shaved in weeks. His shirt was inside out. His left eye twitched in pulses, and his lips moved even when no sound came out. The world had passed him by. No friends, no phone, no purpose. Just him and the weight of everything I had built and pressed into his skull, day by day, memory by memory. I sat down across from him. He didn't recognize me at first. As good. I wanted to look him in the face when the recognition hit. "You used to smile," I said. His head snapped up, eyes bloodshot. "Mister," he rasped, "please." I waited. He blinked, then blinked again, and I saw it. That flicker of terror. That moment he knew. "You remember my boy?" I asked softly. He looked down. "No. I see him every time I close my eyes." "I know," I said. "I made sure of it." He started crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet, leaky sobs like his face was giving up 1 tear at a time. "I didn't mean to." "Don't say it," I cut in. "You meant to drink. You meant to drive. You meant to keep going after the hit. What came after was mine." He shook. Not from cold, from knowing nothing he said would ever make it better. "You should have killed me." I leaned forward. "Why? So you could escape it?" He didn't answer, because he knew that was the truth. Killing him would have been easy. Quick, bloody, maybe, but done. This was worse. This was living with it. This was waking up to echoes, to that photo of a boy you never met in a wheelchair, looking stronger than you ever would again. This was justice in the shape of slow rot. "I don't sleep," he whispered. "I hear the bike tires on pavement. I smell rubber. I hear him scream." "He didn't scream," I said. "He never had the chance." Blake covered his face with both hands. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not. You're broken." "That's not the same." I stood up, pulled something from my coat, set it next to him on the bench. It was a DVD, plain, unmarked. He looked at it like it was ticking. "What is it?" "The truth," I said. Then I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't need to. Inside that disc was a video, one I'd filmed 2 weeks earlier. It showed my son, older now, taller, thinner, standing between parallel bars in a therapy room, sweat rolling down his face. His arms trembled, his braces clinked with every step, but he walked. 1 foot, then the other. No sound, just movement. Struggle. Life at the end. He turned toward the camera, looked into it, and he smiled. Not for me, for himself. Because he had taken what Blake gave him, the worst of it, and fought his way forward. He had lived. Blake would never outrun that. I never visited Blake again. Didn't need to. I'd done what I came to do. I returned to my son's side, helped him through every session, pushed his wheelchair into every building, every park, every place he thought he'd never reach again. We never talked about Blake. He didn't need to know what I did, only that I never left his side, and I never will. Some people don't believe in justice without a courtroom, without bars, without chains, but I do, because justice doesn't always come in a cell. Sometimes it comes in a park bench, under a cold sky, where a broken man holds a disc and realizes that pain isn't what you suffer. It's what you'll never recover from. My son healed. Blake never will. That's not vengeance. That's balance.